Hello, everyone. My name is Anna. Some of you know my last name, some of you don't. Some of you can't pronounce it, but that's okay. All of that is okay because I am here to talk about different things that are happening in the Libertarian Party and in the liberty movement altogether, and to tell you just a little bit about myself. I live in San Diego. I really like it here. We do have a perfect climate. And I spend a lot of my time thinking, writing, and talking to people. Some of my goals are to take down the two-party system in the United States and to promote libertarian ideals to everyone who's actually interested, if you are. My guest tonight is Steve Scheetz, who is very active in the LP movement and also in Pennsylvania in particular. And Steve, please introduce yourself to our listeners.
All right. Thank you for having me. My name is Steve Scheetz. I'm the Pennsylvania chair of the Libertarian Party. And a little bit about myself. Somewhat of a chemist. I put together effect pigment and in paints and help our marketing department sell more paints. It's a pretty neat job when I'm designing these colors for automobiles, and it's an outlet for some of my more creative ideas. It's a lot of fun. So back to Pennsylvania, back to the Libertarian Party. On March 16th, I was chair. When I say reelected, I was elected chair in 2013, served for 2 years, then stepped away for a little while, and decided to come back again. And one of my goals was to try and help make the Pennsylvania Libertarian Party a little more financially stable by raising more money. And I started working on this project probably back in late January. And as we're moving forward, the chairman of our finance committee, Dan Wassmer, he was just elected last night, he's actually been doing a lot of work to help me. So I'm really excited because our first board meeting was back in April 27th. And at that particular moment, Pennsylvania decided to migrate itself to National Civi CRM. We also managed to accept an executive director contract and actually named a new executive director. This is the first time in Pennsylvania history we have had an executive director. And for those of you who don't know what an executive director does, well, we spent a lot of time hashing out the duties and obligations of an executive director, and our current one goes above and beyond. More on him in just a second. We also managed to get our bookkeeping system a little more organized. We managed to name some people to committees, and we wound up having a board that is really just motivated to get things done, motivated to make things happen in Pennsylvania. So I'm really excited to be working with them, and that translates into motivation to want to do more stuff. So Kevin Gogan, he's our executive director. His first initiative was brought up at that very board meeting where he matched dollar for dollar the $2,500 that the LP, the LPPA spent for this mailer. And this mailer has seen us with a 25% increase in membership, 6 new lifetime members. And to say that Kevin has style is a bit of an understatement. He took a paid position and has been donating whatever it is he earns back into the party to help it grow, to help it become bigger and better. And I might be an investment on future earnings, but so far he has not taken a dime from the party. He's just continually circulated it back in. So again, his goals are raising money, increasing membership, helping us create new chapters, and helping get libertarians elected. And now our Civic CRM project, we're in the middle of our migration, and I'm going to give a shout out to David John, Greg Perry, and Kevin. All three of them have been instrumental in seeing it happen. The primary driving force has been David John and Greg Perry. Both of these guys have really busy day lives, and yet they've been taking a lot of time and putting a lot of effort into this project. And I'm really happy to say that, we're actually seeing some real serious function. And it's pretty awesome.
I'm very happy to hear about this kind of dedication. That this is inspiring, really.
Oh, it really is. It really is. Another thing that we've been doing lately. Now, Dr. Chuck Moulton, he was a Pennsylvania resident. He moved to Virginia, and a couple of years ago, he moved back to Pennsylvania. When he moved back to Pennsylvania, he presented people with this idea of finding offices where there was no Republican or Democrat on the ballot. And maybe we should find candidates to run for these positions. Well, not much happened with that idea because, an idea without people helping to drive it, it really doesn't go anywhere, despite the fact that it's so incredibly awesome. So this past year, since I guess mid-June or so, Jennifer Moore, our Eastern Vice Chair, she's also the Vice Chair of Elections. She really poured her heart and soul into finding these. She's been working with Wes Benedict and Kevin and Chuck, and they've been compiling lists of these offices, they've been compiling lists of libertarians that happen to be in those districts, and we've been sending out mailers to these people, inviting them to run for office. Because if we can get these people on the ballot, there's like a 100% chance that they're going to be elected come November. And as we've been sending these out, we started off in Montgomery County, and that was mostly all Jennifer. We actually have some return on investment. Then that kind of inspired me to start working with Bucks. And Jennifer came over. We put envelopes together. We put letters together, and just sent them out to a lot of people. We started seeing some return on that. We sent out mailers to people in Chester County. And some of the other counties, they're also getting these letters. And Kevin is going to be having an envelope stuffing party on Sunday, I believe. So, yeah.
Well, I hope they're not going to like the envelopes. You get that little spongy thing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Just check.
No, we use the spongy thing.
Okay.
But the thing is that when people start doing things, that motivation is infectious, and people have been actually picking up that ball and running with it and doing things with it. And it's really awesome. It's really awesome to see that we're doing these things. And, I kind of sidetracked that whole operation a little bit to try and use that to create a county committee in a county which has never seen a Libertarian committee ever. And it all started with somebody who was asking me a question about if there was a committee in that county. I said, well, not yet, but if you're interested in starting one, I can help direct you to our Western Vice Chair. And Anyway, one thing led to another, and I'm getting ready to do a mailing for that county as well.
That's just excellent.
Yeah.
And you are absolutely right. It is infectious.
It absolutely is. Now, in Philadelphia, we have, I want to say, a pretty important race because we have the ability to actually win a seat on the city council. Maj Toure, he's the founder of Black Lives Matter. He was recruited to run as a Libertarian by Michael Heiss of the Mises Caucus. And well, they've been raising money. They've been getting a volunteer base. They've been going out petitioning and getting signatures. We were out on primary day, and we did a lot of work. And it's looking like he's going to be on the ballot, at the end of this petition circulating season, come April 1st or August 1st. And he's already working on how they're gonna campaign, moving forward. We have a guy here, a petitioner from Chicago, Mark Padilla. Some people know him, some people don't, but he's a younger guy. He's motivated. He's intelligent. He's really got his stuff together when it comes to this stuff, and he's working on this campaign. He says, this is one of those things really gonna help us out moving forward.
So, we're gonna have to address this about March.
Okay.
There have been some libertarians and some libertarian-leaning people who were not happy about his comments about immigration.
And that's reasonable. There's a lot of libertarians who are looking at this and saying, well, how can he call himself a libertarian if he's against, one of our principles, more or less? And the thing is that he really isn't against it. He's just not saying things the way they really need to be said. And when you're out on the campaign trail and you're talking to people, you're listening to what they say, and they're saying, we don't have a large number of opportunities because there's too many illegals. Philadelphia's a sanctuary city. We need to get rid of illegals. So that then becomes his talking point. But there are ways where you can say something and you can turn people off and they will never hear you again. There are ways where you can talk to people where they'll say, meh, that's okay, but I really don't care. And there's ways where you can get people to really get excited about what you're saying. And what I'm hoping to do moving forward, I'm actually having a meeting with his campaign manager on Tuesday, I believe. I'm going to try and help him with some of that messaging so that he doesn't turn people off.
That's a good idea, and I know that myself and many of my friends would appreciate that, to change that messaging.
Well, the change is really simple. Instead of talking about being negative and getting people away, how about we just find a way to increase the opportunities for the people who don't have them? And we can do that by getting government out of the way of business in Philadelphia, by increasing freedom.
We can also start by not dehumanizing people by calling them illegals. That's a good start.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was one of the more difficult things that I had to learn when I was on the campaign trail for Congress this past year, is that there are a lot of people who use that term and they see them as a problem. They see them as a threat. So when I talked about, being against the wall, well, some people just wouldn't hear another word out of my mouth. So you change the language a little bit and say, well, I'm actually pro-legal immigration, and here's how I want to do it. And then that opens them up to hear the libertarian solution to the immigration issue. And there's ways where you can do it where you won't turn people off, despite the fact that they have a completely different viewpoint than you do. Does that make sense?
Right. At the same time, though, I really strongly feel that we need to stop all of the misinformation and the propaganda about immigrants in this country.
Absolutely agree. And we can do that by just changing the narrative completely. When people talk about the illegals are doing this, we say, well, we can end the welfare state, we can end the war on drugs, and that'll stop this mass migration away from the countries that are hellholes because of our war on drugs. And
Immigration to the United States in the past 20 years has been on a steep downward slope.
absolutely it has.
So,
And it's not the problem that they make it out to be.
so there's, this whole fear mongering thing of there's an immigration crisis. No, actually, people aren't coming here as much as they used to.
Well, agreed.
So why is this happening? It to me it seems like it's a demonization of somebody else when the real issues are internal.
The real issues are internal. We
Right.
can make things better, and
I think so.
and we absolutely should. It's our job to make things better. It's our job to make people's lives more free. Have them bring home more money, and just get the government out of everybody's way.
Yes. And I strongly believe, and that's a belief, it's not a fact, it's a belief, that where somebody was born doesn't affect what rights they should have.
I believe that as well. When we say all men are created equal, it's not saying all men are created equal. It's saying all people are created equal. It doesn't matter where you're born and who your parents were. Everybody's created equal.
Right. So your plan is, we got on a little bit of a tangent there, but so your plan with Raj is to reach out to him and see if you can change his messaging.
Yeah, change his messaging. They're again, we can make it so that people are looking for a better opportunity, a better lifestyle, and we don't necessarily have to impede somebody else and infringe upon somebody else's rights and shove them out of the way.
Right. Do you believe in natural rights?
Yes.
I don't.
Well, I believe that when we're born, we're born with certain rights, and we're born with these certain rights because, well, first off, when we're created, by our parents, we didn't ask to be created.
No,
Somebody else made that
definitely didn't
decision
ask
for
for
us.
this. No, definitely.
Yeah.
Confirm. Did not ask for this. Yes.
No. So it's up to our parents to basically help us and give us the tools that we need to survive in this world. Now, as we move on and we move forward, when we say natural rights, I mean, we do have the ability to speak our mind. We do have the ability to defend ourselves. And while our government has been doing its best to kind of infringe upon all of that, we're still here and we're still trying to do this. And we need to remind everybody that, if we lose our right to speak, our right to be, expressive, if we lose our right to defend ourselves, well, that's going to come around to everybody else because there's people who are trying to take our rights away, and try to take our speech away. Well, we're going to do the same thing to them. We're going to stop listening to them.
Right.
And, so basically the way I see it is we treat people how we want to be treated. And, if we want to have our rights, then we need to make sure that we give the same rights that we want to other people. Does that make sense?
Certainly. So, if you think about the categorical imperative by Kant,
Mm-hmm.
act only by such maxim, which, if it were to become a universal law, you would approve of. That's my loose translation from German, but it's a little bit different than the golden principle,
Right.
because what it implies is that you have to think a lot about what universal principles should be, and not just treating your neighbor like you want to be treated by your neighbor. It's about a bigger picture. And the fallacy of it is that it falls apart as soon as there's any subjectivity to how someone sees morality.
As far as like when some people don't see morality the same way as other people do.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so for example, there are some simple things that probably most people agree on. Don't randomly murder people, and don't steal from people.
Don't hurt people. Don't take their stuff. That's what we're
Right.
about.
Right. But it gets complicated.
It doesn't have to be.
Well, it gets complicated all the time because this is real life. So we have situations like somebody has to steal to survive. Where do the rights fall there? Does that person's right to survive trump the other person's right to not have their property stolen?
Well, everybody makes a choice. Like the person who makes the choice to steal doesn't necessarily have to steal. They could ask the person first, and maybe the person gives it to them.
Sure.
When you make the decision to steal, you're actually causing harm to somebody else. And, that's not right.
Right, but then you have to weigh the levels of harm. Is that person's child dying from hunger?
Not in the United States is not.
A bigger harm than that other person's property that costs $50. That's where it gets murky. You see?
No.
Anyway, so we just went off on a total philosophical tangent.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do. To our listeners, this is the kind of stuff Steve and I do all the time. All right, so you wanted to talk about the Green Party and other parties and reaching out to them.
Absolutely. So another thing that we've been doing is we've been spending some time doing some political activity with other parties in the state. And one of those events happened on May 6th. We went to, it was a Second Amendment rally in Harrisburg or in Pennsylvania, Article 1, Section 21. Basically, we wanted to go out there and be a presence with mostly Republican and conservative people who were interested in gun rights. And there were some Democrats there that were also interested in keeping and maintaining their right to self-defense. And after that, we went and we lobbied together to the various representatives in Harrisburg who were on record as being for gun control, and even some ones that were not for gun control, just to say hello, how are you, and thank you.
Right.
It was a really interesting experience, and it was really nice meeting those people and talking to those people, especially the people who are actually in my district when I'm going to be running for Congress again in 2020. you know, it was a good networking opportunity. And the idea that we're able to share with them and say, you know, this is what we believe, and you believe the same thing. And, you know, that makes for, I don't know, a more pleasant time running for office.
Absolutely.
Then, yeah, then fast forward, in Harrisburg, they were discussing Senate Bill 300. Um, to be
What's that?
clear, it's a terrible bill. Basically, the bill is going to attempt to make it more attractive for people to leave their parties so that they can vote for a Republican or a Democrat in the primary. Meanwhile, those of us who do not leave our parties, or those of us who maintain our registration as independent or anything other than Republican or Democrat, we're still forced to pay for the primary process of two private organizations. And, you know, the judge in the one court case against the Democrats when the Bernie Sanders thing was going down actually ruled in favor of the Democratic Party when they said, you know, we really don't have to adhere to our own bylaws because, you know, we're a private organization.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So, oh, yeah. So, needless to say, the Green Party, and when I reached out to them, I don't want to say I was vague about it, but I basically said, um, we should come out with a joint press release saying that Senate Bill 300 sucks. Email me if you're interested. And I got a response almost right away. Sherry Miller, one of the co-chairs, reached back out to me and says, "Yeah, that's a really good idea." And so
I think so
I
too.
met with her, Tim Runkle, and a couple of other people here in the Libertarian Party, and Jennifer Moore and Dan Wassmer. Dan Wassmer was an attorney who was helping me out when I was getting challenged last year on the ballot. But he's a really invaluable resource. And all those people in the Green Party were really just a joy to work with. And, you know, while we never talked about anything that we disagreed with, um, we did talk a lot about those things that we did agree on. And we came out with a really nice press release together, and we sent it out on, I guess, Thursday. Anyway, yeah, we
Okay.
sent it out. So no, I was really excited by that. And, you know, one of their people, Carl Romanelli, to give you an idea of some of the things that have been happening here in Pennsylvania with regard to ballot access. So
Yes.
Carl Romanelli was thrown off the ballot, I believe, for governor, one of the statewide offices, and then he was charged $100,000 or better for the expenses of the Republican Party who challenged him. Like, he was forced to pay their fees. And we recently had a court case saying that that was unconstitutional, but they're trying to find ways around that now. And they did that to me this past year. And they're also trying other methods to get our candidates to stay away from the elections. And you know, a lot of underhandedness is going on in Pennsylvania politics. But at the end of the day, I'm always remembering and always reminded of that one old adage. You know, first they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. Well, they're fighting us now, and I believe that we're going to be winning sooner rather than later.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's um it's an interesting thing. The NAP,
Yes.
that is our principal in the Libertarian Party, just so that everybody knows, you don't attack first.
Right.
But if you get attacked, you take an equal measure to make it
Yep.
stop. I don't think that it's any kind of a natural law rule. I just think that it's a good way to go about things in life.
Oh, absolutely, it is.
If somebody doesn't hurt you, don't hurt them, and if somebody does, hurt them back. That's
Yep.
it.
That's all.
Yeah. there are a couple of other things that I want to say on this topic. First of all, the ballot access laws are unbelievable.
This much is true.
And, it depends on the state. My state is a little bit better than most, but if you look at ballot access in Tennessee, for example, they're locked out. Libertarians or Green Party members or anybody else, whatever party they want to be for, unless they are a Democrat or a Republican, they are locked out.
I was pretty close to that here in Pennsylvania. I was the first libertarian in 14 years to get as far as I did, as far as ballot access before I get thrown off. And they make it difficult for a reason. And part of that reason is they don't like competition. They don't like to hear alternative viewpoints. And
well, yeah,
regardless of, go ahead.
They enjoy their status quo, and they're gonna squash anybody who's gonna try to challenge it.
Absolutely. And regardless of whether you agree with the Green Party and what they stand for, the one thing that we can agree on is that we're all getting screwed equally by the establishment, basically. And because it's not two-party system anymore, it's a single entity. And when I say that, I mean
pretty much,
yes.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah, it's a single mindset, and that's where we are right now. We're fighting against the standard, and the standard sucks.
So, to put it in a different way, it could be said that we libertarians are actually progressive.
You could say that.
Because we're challenging the status quo.
Absolutely. Now, the word progressive is, well, it kind of has a bad connotation, but you're right.
It has a negative connotation to it sometimes, but it shouldn't, because what's wrong with progress? What's wrong with moving forward? What's wrong with it?
Nothing's wrong with that.
So tell me some of the funniest names you've been called online.
The funniest names I've been called online?
Uh-huh.
I really don't get called names online, which is really interesting. I don't get called names online. Although I have been called a fascist, I've also been called a liberal, and sometimes by the same person in the same conversation. And,
right.
And it's like, and part of it has to do with the fact that I don't like being placed in any specific box. In fact, I have a T-shirt that reads, "I set the box on fire." And yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
I've been called things like libtard, snowflake, postmodern, neo-Marxist, feminazi, beta cuck. All in one sentence.
Oh. What is a postmodern? What was that again?
Postmodern neo-Marxist.
A postmodern neo-Marxist. I don't even know what that means.
It just means that Jordan Peterson doesn't know what postmodernism it means, okay, and doesn't know what Marxism means. That's all it means. That's all.
Okay. Well, to each their own, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the guy, but I think everybody already knows that. So, all right. What do you want to tell people about how to reach out and how to not be abrasive and just have a
Well,
relationship with people that you reach out to. Well,
we started talking about it a little bit with the Maj campaign, but you
right.
know, the biggest thing that I've found that's been helpful is when you start talking to people, you go up, you introduce yourself, and ask them, what are the concerns facing you, as a citizen in District 1 or wherever you happen to be.
Right.
And if they actually start talking to you, they'll start telling you what pisses them off. And as they start talking about what pisses them off, that gives you your opening to start talking about, say, the libertarian solution to the problem that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And 99% of the cases, these people will not have heard your solution, like, at all. In fact, there were a number of places where I happened to be in Bucks County where people did not have an idea what a libertarian was. And while that's somewhat horrifying to me, it was also somewhat gratifying to me as well, because I was the person who got a chance to tell them what a libertarian actually was
Right.
and what it meant. And I was doing this by telling them how we were going to solve problems moving forward. Like, well, for one thing, actually solving problems, not just talking about it. And when someone asked me about roads, I've told people what I've done in the past to actually fix the road, my own road, and just get a couple bags of concrete, shovel, and fix the road. It's not complicated, and everybody seems to think that we need to rely on government for certain services, and I'm going to say libertarians across the country will tell you, actually, no, we don't. We can solve these problems just fine all by ourselves. And that's what we should be concentrating on and sharing with people. And when I talked about education resonates with parents, not just Republicans, not Democrats, parents. So with my one message, I can reach both parties. And
Yes.
what I've done, I've been able to tell them, look, libertarians, we don't like the Department of Education. We want it to go away, right? But you don't come out and tell people that you want to get rid of the Department of Education. What you do is you start talking to people about, okay, you have a problem with the way things are being run in schools, and you don't feel confident that your child is learning. And well, yeah, that's kind of how it is. It's, well, what if I told you I'd like to put you in partnership with the teachers at the most local levels? I said, well, I don't know. I said, look, you and the teacher that's teaching your child, you both know how your child thinks, how your child learns, and you're both in the best position to give your child the tools he or she needs to be successful in tomorrow's job market. And they just let that sit there. Let them digest that. That's when you stop talking. And once you get to a certain point, you need to stop talking, let them process.
Exactly. I
And
think
once they,
that's a very important point, because I think that some of our colleagues in the LP just keep pushing and pushing until they turn people off.
I've seen people talk themselves out of victory time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
And once you talk yourself out of a victory, it's really hard to get that victory back. It is what it is. It's just human nature. Once you get turned off, it's over.
Right.
So give those people the opportunity and the option to walk down that path to where you happen to be, instead of shoving them down the path. They'll get there. Just give them a chance. And
Give
then
them a chance and treat them with respect.
yes,
Nobody likes to be disrespected.
absolutely. And that's actually critical. Treating people with respect,
Hmm.
being polite, being nice. You may not like the person that you're talking to right then, right there, but they're a human being, and you need to treat them the way you want to be treated. And because at the end of the day, you want them to vote for you. You want them to hear your message. You want them to do something about your message.
Right.
And maybe some point, it might not be in the next 5 minutes, but at some point they're going to walk down the path and say, what do we need the Department of Education for anyway? And you didn't say we want to burn down the Department of Education, but you gave them the means to come to that conclusion all by themselves. And that's how you win.
Right. I mean, I don't want to burn any people who work for the Department of Education because these are just people who are working at a job.
When I say burn down the Department of Education, I'm not literally saying take gasoline and burn it down. I'm saying get rid of it.
Right. So, one more question on this topic.
Okay.
Why do you think that the US education system is so inferior to other developed countries?
Well, in some cases it's not. In some places it's not. You have private institutions where it's not. You have people who are homeschooling their children. It's not there either.
I'm talking about
Uh,
K to 12. I'm not talking about colleges because we do have pretty good colleges here. But
no, I get that. I get that. And I'm saying, there are a lot of people out there who know how to educate children, but they're being hamstrung and they're getting forced to do these mandatory programs that are being put forth by the Department of Education, and it's not helping. We need to get government out of the way.
you see, in other countries, it's centralized too, and they're doing way better than the US. Why do you think that is?
There's a lot of different reasons for that, but I don't pretend to be an expert as to how they run their system over in other countries. I just know that what we're doing has been failing since the
For a
Department of
long
Education
time.
started.
For a very long time.
Yeah.
When I first moved here from a mysterious country, it was very strange to me because I was a senior in high school and everything that was being taught was about sixth, fifth grade
Okay.
in mathematics, physics, chemistry. I took all the AP classes because I was bored. And all of that was just really strange to me. Why are 17-year-olds, or 15-year-olds, whatever age you are in senior year of high school, being taught stuff that should have been taught when you're 12? Well, what's going on here? What's happening? And I was in a really, really good high school. I'm
This
not
is one of the reasons why you want to have parents in partnership with teachers, because not every child learns the same way. And the only way really that you're going to be successful in teaching children is if you teach the children the way that they learn.
true. True. Everybody has different learning styles, and it's not just visual or auditory. It's so much more complicated than that.
Absolutely. I mean, when I am at my best, I'm using everything, and I basically learn by doing. And as I'm doing things, I'm also reading. And when I'm reading things and doing things, I'm also listening. And I kind of taught myself the rudimentaries of chemical engineering in the back of my shop, where I developed a spray lubricant for my bicycle. And it just happened that I needed something like that, and I just I went to work, and this is what I needed. This is what I want to do, and so I learned how to make it happen.
Okay.
But that's just how I do it. I'm just one example.
Right.
Anyway,
So
different children.
different from how I learn,
Hmm.
and it's perfectly fine.
And it's different from how a lot of other children learn as well. But the people who know these children are the ones who can really give them the tools to succeed. Not an organization that's 1,000 miles away.
That I definitely agree with. Because when you put together people into aggregate statistics, it's completely useless on an individual level.
Agreed.
All right, so this is so much fun, and I don't want to talk too much. So let's wrap this up, and
Okay.
let's hear about your lemonade, because this is famous.
Famous? More
Yeah.
like more like infamous. No, I went to the darkest, deepest levels of chemistry and developed this lemonade using two different types of white liquor. And what it does is it hits you twice. The first liquor hits you instantaneously, and you say, "Okay, this is how it is." I
You
get
said it
it.
was Everclear.
It is. It's white liquor. It's a clear liquor.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's Everclear. It's clear.
Right.
And but it hits you right away. And you don't really taste the Everclear when you're drinking the lemonade. If you taste it, then it's too strong, and it's not what you're going for. Basically, going for something that when people drink it, they feel it right away, and they're like, yeah, that's the stuff. And then about 3/4 of the way through the first glass, or part of the way into the second glass, the vodka starts to sneak up on you, because I use the lemony citron absolute in my lemonade. And well, vodka kind of sneaks up on you after a little while, and by the time you're partway through that second cup or second glass,
You just
you say,
said,
"Oh my God, what just happened?"
do you guys drink this stuff out of cups?
Cups or glasses, depending if I'm having one of my libertarian parties outside in the yard, it's in a plastic cup.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Hmm.
But if it's in the house, people are drinking out of glasses just because.
But you
But
do lemons and lemon juice in this, right?
oh, absolutely. I prefer fresh squeezed lemons if at all possible, because I like the taste, I like the flavor, and you know I don't like scurvy.
Oh, yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
So, okay, they sell this lemon juice at the grocery stores.
Hmm.
That's in the little bottles. I never buy that because it just seems like it's made out of who knows what that's made of.
Well, I'm reasonably sure that there is some lemon in there. I'm not sure exactly, how much of it's real or how much of it's not, but it doesn't have the same flavor as fresh squeeze. It just doesn't.
No, it doesn't. And I use lemons all the time,
Yeah.
in different dishes. But whenever I look at that stuff at the grocery store, I'm like, what is this made of? Some kind of a flavor agent and sugar, and not even sugar, because they don't use sugar in the United States. They use high fructose corn syrup.
I don't.
Well, I certainly don't either.
Yeah.
But
There's
um,
a guy. His name is escapes me, but he wrote a book called "In Defense of Food," and he went after Dr. Kellogg, who was just looking at the basic nutrients in certain foods, and making his processed food with those particular nutrients. And, this guy who wrote the book In Defense of Food, he was saying, you can give somebody all the beta carotene that you want, but without the enzymes that exist in the carrot, the beta carotene doesn't get absorbed quite the same way.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And that was like the whole point of the book, that when you look at all the processed foods in the grocery store, they're not necessarily good. When you go around the outside of the grocery store and you get the fresh food, that's when you're looking at stuff that humans should be eating, not the processed garbage.
That's the only stuff I ever get. Except there's one exception. Sometimes I get canned kidney beans.
Okay. I get canned garbanzo beans and make my own hummus, so what do I know?
You make hummus in a blender?
Yes.
I haven't done that in a very long time because it's just too many carbs for me.
Right? Yeah, I mean, it's not something I do all the time, but it's something that I would rather do than buy a bucket full of hummus at BJ's, for example.
Yeah, I don't do that. No. I don't even buy or eat hummus.
Well, I do like the flavor, so.
That I have made it was with garbanzo beans from the grocery store and add herbs and stuff and make it yummy. But yeah. So this podcast is going into food area now.
Went from politics to food.
Yes. So the message is
we like food?
Yeah, I think all of us do. All of us eat. And I've already threatened several people today to put them on the keto diet. Daniel being one of them.
Who being one of them?
Daniel Hayes.
Oh.
So, okay, we should probably wrap this up. This has been Anna Mosashvili and Steve Scheetz with our podcast. Hope you like it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for visiting. This has been wonderful.
All right.